Okay, hello, dear friends. Welcome to our series of interviews with social workers in America. As you know, this project is devoted to promoting social work profession in Kazakhstan. And today we have our guest. Her name is Natasha Dachos. And Professor Dachos has been my professor as well during my first semester in Columbia, and I'm so lucky to have her as my advisor as well during the first year. Professor Dachos has a very interesting background, and we have a similar situation with Professor, because she is also a career changer. I am also a career changer, just like Professor Dachos, and it's very interesting for me to learn what made her to change from being a successful engineer to becoming a social worker and pursue a new career. I also want to emphasize that Professor Dachos did her degree in policy in the School of Social Work here in Columbia. She has her background in international social work with refugees. She also has an expertise in philanthropy and social work in higher education. So as usually, Professor Dachos, thank you so much for coming here to our studio. Yes, and there are two questions that we usually ask our guests.
Okay.
And they're quite simple, but not really.
Okay.
You know, what made you to become a social worker, and what do you think social workers contribute to the society?
Okay, yes, two short but not so simple questions. Yeah, so,
Exactly.
Well, first I want to thank you for having me in the studio and for this opportunity. I love social work and I love the chance to talk about it, and I want everyone to know also that you're a fabulous student.
Thank you.
And emerging social worker. So why did I become a social worker? Well, as you mentioned, I was an engineer, and I actually did that for almost 10 years.
Okay.
And I worked all over the world. Loved it, great career. In the back of my mind, I always knew I was going to do something else. My parents were both in service professions. I think I always thought I was going to be a teacher, which I do get to do now, because social workers get to do many things. But I had a real social justice edge. I was very interested in human rights. International, of course, very important to me. Most of my engineering career was abroad. And I kept thinking about it, but not doing anything about it. I think I always thought, next year I'll do it, next year I'll do it. I get another promotion. Hey, how about moving to England? Sure, then I'm going to do that other thing. But actually what happened, which happens to a lot of us, is life happens. And my father became very, very sick. So he was diagnosed with cancer, very stage 4, very severe, and to me that was a huge wake-up call. Taking care of him, losing him, suddenly I was like, wow, first the grief of that, and my world kind of upside down. He was such an important figure to me, but also suddenly thinking about my own life. When exactly are you going to do this? What if you get stage 4 cancer tomorrow? Then you're still going to have this dream that you're going to do this someday, but never having done it. So I quit my job, and I spent a year working with high school youth, taking classes and thinking about where I wanted to go to school. And it became more and more apparent to me as I went along that social work was the right profession. I just got more excited about it, the different possibilities. I think my personality. I'm interested in many different things, just like you. And I thought about it. The more I read about social work, I'm like, wow, I'm interested in this and this and this. Oh, I could do all those things.
Kind of combination.
Yeah. So it just seemed to have the breadth of it. I was excited about, in my training, getting practical experience. I'm an engineer. Engineers are very practical. Social workers are very practical. So although people think they're such different careers, I think that's a very big similarity of both of them. They're very practical at the end of the day. So I came to this school because I was very interested in international social work, and they had the best program at the time to do that kind of work. And when I got to school, I was floored. Suddenly, all these books that I had read for fun were my classroom materials. It wasn't like I was watching a movie.
I know how it feels.
It wasn't like I was watching, or hearing about someone. I couldn't believe it. I would, people would say, "Oh, so much reading," and I'm like, "Can you believe we get to read this stuff?" It just was so. It felt like the right place, and I got to do amazing things, and I've been able to do amazing things since. I mean, I'm so grateful for every day. I'm grateful for this career and all the different experiences I've had.
So why is it so important to have social workers in the society? What do you think overall? What do they contribute? Because in my country, we don't have social workers in hospitals, in schools, in nowhere. That's why I'm doing this project. So why do you think we should have them?
I bet there are people doing social work practices in jobs in your country.
Yeah,
I bet
sure.
there's stuff like that going on. But I think in terms of formalizing it and making it a profession, there's so many contributions that they can make, and they make such an important role. And I think that's something people should realize. Even in the United States, sometimes where social work has been very established for a long time, I have friends who introduce me and they'll say, "Oh, Natasha's a social worker." Well, not really a social worker. She does all this other stuff. And I'll explain, actually, that's also what social workers do. And what I mean by that is social workers work in the government. I mean, they could be a senator or a congressional representative, or maybe someday a president or prime minister or whatever. They run agencies, they work in corporations, they work one-on-one with people. And social workers work with those who are most vulnerable.
Absolutely.
In every society, we all have it. We haven't figured it out on this planet yet. We've got a lot of work to do. The most developed country in the world to the least development has a